Patience, Ruby. Grace will find it in all good time.
Hold on, it's here somewhere. Must have been put back in the wrong place. Yes, here we are. Do you want this out as an extra, or are you going to change it for one of the ones you've got?
What the hell are you doing? Would you mind your own business?
Keep an eye, Grace. I'm just going to take these magazines and papers to North and South Wings. No more customers after Ruby. Oh, and Beryl will be back soon.
All right, Mrs. Brown.
What are you doing? Nothing, honest.
You were looking through those things on the desk.
So what? Thought I might find a smoke.
What have you got there? Put it back.
Why? Is it yours?
No, it's mine.
Oh, I am sorry.
No, give it to me, please.
It's only your own fault, so what you getting so het up about?
Go on, give it to her and push off.
Oh, is it something sexy, is it?
You've no right. It's my private property. Do you want this book or don't you?
All right. I was just having a bit of a joke.
Yes, well, some people don't think that sort of thing's funny.
Shouldn't let her upset you.
I know.
Ruby Stiggins. Escape to romance.
You shouldn't have left it there if it's important. Why don't you keep it in your cell?
You're allowed to put up as many photographs as
No!
Well, shall we get on with the catalogue? The new books came in this morning. Beryl, what's the matter?
I just can't stand the idea of anybody prying. It's not right, it's horrible. Particularly not her sort.
You know, Beryl, what you need is a drink.
What a pity it is we can't reach a decision ourselves about this case.
You mean without referring it to the parole board?
Yes. Well, you know there have to be a meeting of the local review committee who in turn recommend it to the parole board.
It's time the process was somehow speeded up.
Yes. It's now under discussion. Of course, some cases now bypass the parole board, but this kind still has to be referred. So I don't think anybody could look upon Beryl Watson as a potential threat to society. And it's very rare for parole to be refused in the case of manslaughter.
Her charge could have been reduced because of mitigating circumstances, after all.
The woman got 4 years for the manslaughter of her mother, and that is the only fact that we can take into consideration. I don't seem to have the social inquiry report.
Oh, it hasn't come through yet?
Ah, but you have been in touch with the probation officer?
Oh, yes, an awfully nice woman attached to Hastings Crown Court. We had a long chat. Seemed very sensible.
What did you have to say?
It's the kind of story one comes across quite often. Old Mrs. Watson was the widow of an Indian Army officer, no other children except Beryl. A big house, not much money. Beryl devoted her whole life to looking after her.
Was Mrs. Watson an invalid then?
Oh, for the last few years, yes. She was unable to get out of bed without help.
Did you receive any assistance from the social services?
I think they did try, but she threw them out. According to them, the house was like a pigsty.
A difficult patient.
Now, from what I hear, that would be an understatement. She bullied Beryl unmercifully.
According to the probation officer?
Yes, but there was plenty of evidence at the trial about the ill treatment Beryl received from her mother. And the family GP, local tradespeople and so on. Everyone's sympathy was with Beryl.
Except the judges, apparently. Whatever unpleasantness you may have endured, the fact remains that you terminated this old lady's life. She didn't appeal against the severity of this sentence. I wonder why.
She didn't make any attempt to defend herself at all.
Miss Collins, I shall want a written report from you for the review committee with your assessment of her conduct. How long has she been with us?
Just over a year, Governor.
And what is your opinion?
Well, I shall recommend her for parole without reservation.
Good. I suppose she has agreed to be considered.
Yes.
Now, the only snag may be the problem of where she's going to live.
Well, she said that the family home had been sold up, and I don't think she's got any relatives.
We may be able to arrange something. Would you look into that, Miss Clark? And not too near Hastings. She may not want to be reminded.
Would you like another, Beryl?
Oh, no, I really shouldn't.
It's making you feel better, isn't it?
Oh, yes, heaps.
What's there?
You know, when you said Have a drink. I thought you were joking.
For God's sake, don't tell anyone. It's the only thing that makes life bearable.
But Grace, however do you manage?
Just a question of having cooperative friends outside.
I haven't got anyone, of course.
What, no ties? In a way, you're lucky. Cheers.
Cheers. I expect you've got lots of chums.
Oh, I thought I had, till it came to the crunch and then they all tended to melt away. Except my boyfriend, he's still around.
Oh, well, that's nice for you.
He makes himself useful, arranging a few home comforts.
That perfume you're wearing. I knew you hadn't bought that at the prison shop.
Oh dear, have I overdone it?
Oh, no. No, it's very pleasant.
They wouldn't know the difference anyhow. Miss Dior or Lifebuoy, it's all the same to them.
Oh, I would have thought one or two of them might. You're not in the least frightened of them, are you?
Oh no, not a bit. Why should I be? Are you?
But then I've always been inclined to be a bit timid. My mother, you see, was a very dominating personality.
Was that her picture? The one you were hiding in the library? Well, I don't get it, Beryl. Why don't you keep it in yourself?
I don't want her there.
Did you hate her very much?
Well, she could be very inconsiderate.
Well, why keep her photograph at all?
Oh, I want her in here with me. But I don't want her looking at me. Do you understand?
My eldest got a lovely maisonette, but she wants to move to Harlow. Near Arthur's work, you see. She's trying to get a swap.
It seems she wants to swap with the sound of it.
Now, what's this column here?
Now, can you move your feet, Mrs.?
Oh, leave it for a minute. We're almost finished. The other end needs doing behind the shelves. You always miss that bit. Well, take the bucket with you. Not that sloppy water around would be much.
There's no pleasing in it.
No. These are the ones that need repairing.
Rather a lot of them. Should keep the bookbinding class happy for a bit. Well, I'd better go and dish out the magazines. I won't be long. Keep an eye.
Personally, I think they'd be better off in Harlow. Nicer for the kiddies.
Your eldest, is she the one with twins?
No, that's Edna. This is Hazel.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was. Yeah. You feeling all right, Madge?
I think so. Why?
You've gone a funny colour.
Sorry, library's closed.
Oh, get off with you. Look, I just want to change this.
Closed, Ruby. And what are you doing here on your own?
I'm just cleaning out there in the patio. I thought I'd slip in while the officer's not
Well,
looking.
my advice to you is to slip out again before she notices.
Yes, but look, it's got pages missing.
Tomorrow morning.
What's going on over there?
It's Madge. She's being sick in the bucket.
Oh, how perfectly revolting.
She'll be all right. Where are you going?
I'm going to fetch an officer.
Oh, don't do that. You'll get her into trouble, both of us.
Oh, no, I think I'd better be off.
Well, if the woman's ill, she needs attention.
You don't understand. It's the brew.
The what?
Madge and me have been having a, bit of drink like. Fix it up in the cleaning stores. She'll be all right. Don't tell on us, for God's
Do you
sake.
mean to tell me you've been drinking some filthy concoction?
Oh, hark at you. Very high and mighty.
Well, what about the library, the floor? Oh, it's nauseating. Miss Parsons!
Oh, my God. Now we're in for it. Interfering madam. Who does she think she is?
Madge!
Seeing you makes it worse, Roddy.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, you know what I mean.
It won't be long. Everybody's getting quite excited about seeing you again.
Are they? Who?
Oh, various people I run into.
What, people I used to work with? Contacts?
Yeah.
I'll have to start again from square one. Freelance work for the magazines. It's going to be tough.
Oh, no problem, sweetheart. Not with your talent.
I suppose you're used to it.
What?
Being out of work, it never seems to bother you.
Something always seems to turn up.
Has something.
Well,
What about those friends of yours who run the discotheque? Weren't they going to offer you a job?
it hasn't opened yet. They're having trouble with the license. It's unbelievable, the regulations.
What are you living on?
National assistance, mainly.
And our joint account.
I'm afraid that's just about cleaned out, darling. Well, rent, rates, heating. I've had to pay out quite a lot for you too, you know, arranging for stuff to be brought in here. Yeah, well, that chum of yours doesn't do it for free, you know. Now, look, I haven't mentioned this before, but
Why not? It's my money.
of course, as soon as I start earning, I'll be able to get things moving again.
What you're saying is that things have stopped moving, is that it?
Darling, it works out at 10 quid a bottle. In present circumstances, it's just not on.
I see.
You can do without it, surely.
Looks as if I'll have to, doesn't it?
I've just been having a chat with Miss Collins, and guess what?
What?
The Board of Visitors has been looking round the library, and they've made some very complimentary remarks.
Big deal.
Well, you see, at least one of them will be on the committee considering my parole, so it could be quite a help.
Oh, not to mention your woodcraft and the way you tie those knots.
What?
Well, they might even make you a brown owl.
Did you have a nice visit from your friend? I expect you had lots to talk
Beryl, is there
about.
anything in particular you wanted to see me for?
Well, no.
Or did you feel just like a little drinky poo?
Well, really, that's
Because
not
if
very
so,
nice.
I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed.
Well, I hope you don't think that's the only reason I
Isn't
come
it?
in here. I thought you realised I enjoy your company.
Which you get most days in the library, so the real attraction must be the vodka.
Oh, really, Grace?
Anyhow, as I said, there isn't any. I'm sorry, Beryl. I'm just fed up with everything.
Well, what happened? Did the authorities find out?
That unreliable young man of mine has spent all my money on himself.
Oh, dear.
My fault. I suppose there might be some other way.
Well, I never did understand how you managed it.
One of the girls who comes in to teach handicrafts. Roddy met her at a party and chatted her up. She made a bit of a fuss about the risk involved, but he made it worth her while. Anyhow, it wasn't really difficult. She comes in twice a week with a whole bag full of stuff, you know, modelling clay, poster paint, so no one's going to stop her at the gate.
Well, perhaps you could have a word with her.
People aren't too keen to give you credit when you're in for passing dud checks. Still, I'll have a go.
Dora, do you have to make so much noise?
Well, I have to get it done, don't I? Takes me twice as long now. There's only one of me.
What happened to Madge?
Madge, 2 days in solitary, thanks to you. And she's got to get to meetings once a week.
What kind of meetings?
Search me. Temperance, I think.
The shelves look very nice, Beryl. I'm sure the governor will be pleased.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Brown.
Hello, Grace.
How did the handicraft class go?
Not very successful, I'm afraid.
Oh, I think they're lovely.
Dora, get on with your work. Look over there. That bit's not been done yet. Everything all right, Beryl?
Yes, thank you. Good night. Oh! Bryn!
There we go.
Thanks very much.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lisa. Happy birthday to you.
Push it in here. Shove it there. I can't quite reach you. Push it in there. Yeah. It's all in now. Oh, shh. Watch out. It's her.
I think I owe you an apology.
That's all right.
I was only afraid you were making yourself ill.
Constitution of an ox.
It certainly doesn't seem to have done you any harm.
No, that last lot weren't no good. You want to try the new brew. Smashing.
I don't suppose... I mean, I'd be very grateful if you...
Madge, Dora, pack up now. It's nearly dinner time.
Excuse me, lovey.
Beryl, time to pack up. Report back here at 2 o'clock.
Yes, Mrs. Brown.
Now, as I was saying, the local review committee will meet next Wednesday. Have you had any luck with a hostel for Beryl Watson? Because they'll want to know.
I'm waiting for it to be confirmed. Who's on the committee this time?
Oh, the usual, plus Mrs. Ross from the Board of Visitors. She's all right. And a new one from the local authority, Mrs. Dodds.
Oh, I think I've come across her. Young, rather an eager beaver.
Oh, well, I'm sure we can deal with her. I've asked Beryl to come in so we can explain the procedure to her. Yes? Well, where's Beryl Watson?
I had to take her to the surgery, Miss Collins.
Is she ill?
Not exactly. I'd say she's drunk.
Beryl can't have known what it was.
Well, that's possible, of course.
Will she be all right, Doctor?
She lived to play the tambourine again.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Brown. Well, that mixture was pretty lethal. Are you sure she's going to be all right?
I gave her an emetic and I pumped the rest of it out. I didn't think she'd time to ingest much. It was instant blotto.
You don't sound very sympathetic.
Well, when you are overworked and understaffed, it's very difficult to feel sympathy for people who deliberately make themselves ill.
Especially when one is suffering from a hangover oneself.
Thank you. Anyway, she's better this morning. I've arranged for her to go back to the wing. Excused work.
Is it possible she didn't know what she was drinking?
She must have known, or the smell alone would have put her off. You'll have to make a search just in case there's any more hidden away.
That's in hand.
We've got to find out how she got it.
Yes, but at the moment I'm more interested in finding out... why.
Now, how are you feeling now?
Better, thank you.
Mm-hmm. What about your appetite? Dinner's being dished out.
No. No, thank you.
Well, I don't suppose that you're going to tell me where you got it. So perhaps you'd like to tell me what you thought you were doing.
I'm so ashamed.
You have every right to be.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doctor.
Oh, don't apologize to me. Apologize to your kidneys, your liver, your heart, your eyes, your brain. They've escaped damage. It's a bloody miracle.
I couldn't help myself.
It's not because you were desperate for another drink. I don't believe that. Was it that you just wanted to get into hospital? Bit of attention?
No.
Look, Beryl, I have been through your entire medical history. I have examined you myself. No cirrhosis, no dyspepsia, no circulatory problems. You are a perfectly fit woman. There is no trace of the least dependence on alcohol. So, why did you drink it?
I had to.
Yes, but why? I see. Well, if you won't tell me, perhaps you'll tell Miss Collins. Or the governor.
What on earth made you even try it?
I needed a drink, madam.
Oh, but not that.
Yes. Oh, that surprises you, I know. Well, I thought I'd finished with all that, but... Well, it's very difficult to break the habit.
But surely after a year...
Oh, I know. I imagined I was... What's the expression? Dried out. But then... Well, I don't want to go into details, but the temptation quite unexpectedly returned.
Yes, well, we all know how it happens. Now, Beryl, I do understand your problem. And it's a good thing to talk about it, you know. I suppose someone offered you a drink?
I'd rather not say, madam.
Well, there's nothing in your past prison or medical reports about your drinking.
Oh, I was always able to conceal it. Even our family doctor didn't notice. But then he was quite a drinking man himself.
Did all this start when you were looking after your mother?
Yes.
Tell me.
Well, it wasn't her being ill so much. It was that, well, she'd never let me change the sheets or send her nighties to the laundry. And when I tried to wash up the tea things, she always said I was wasting electricity.
Was drink kept in the house?
Oh, no. No, Mother would never have approved. No, she was very much against that sort of thing.
Well, if I'd had to put up with that position, I think that I'd have needed something to cheer me up. So what did you do? Start going to the pub?
Oh, no. No, that would have been out of the question. In a small village, you know, tongues would wag. No. Whenever I used to go to Hastings on my bicycle, I used to get something and then, of course, take care that Mother didn't see it.
But after a while, if you were drinking heavily, didn't she notice?
Well, she was under sedation at the time. I don't think she suspected anything. Or if she did, she probably thought I was making myself ill with worry.
Which wouldn't have been too surprising.
Oh, her room was so dreadful. And she'd never let me open the windows. And at the end, whenever she rang the bell wanting something, I had to have a drink to force myself to go in there. And she couldn't do anything for herself, you know.
It must have been very distressing for you. How long did this go on for?
About 4 years. Until she died.
Well, if you don't want to talk about
Oh,
that
but I
part of
do.
it-
I've been longing to tell someone. You've no idea how much.
But surely the time to do that was at your trial. According to the reports, you made no attempt to defend yourself.
I was so ashamed.
But you needn't have been. You gave your mother all the love and care you could under very trying circumstances.
No, it was my drinking I was ashamed of, madam.
Oh, I see.
Because that's what killed her. Every evening I had to give her medicines, tablets of various sorts to ease the pain and something to make her sleep. And she always made a terrible fuss about it. And that particular evening, she refused to swallow anything. She spat it out all over the bedclothes. Well, I know I shouldn't have been cross with her, but oh, I was so tired. And my hand was shaking. And I just had to go outside to pull myself together.
With a drink?
With several, I'm afraid. I don't remember. In fact, I don't remember anything that happened that night. I must have gone back into Mother's room, but I can't have known what I was giving her. I don't remember going to bed. But when I woke up the next morning, I went to Mother's room straight away. And she was dead.
Are you sure your mother didn't take the overdose herself?
Oh, no. No, she couldn't get out of bed. And the medicines were always kept well out of reach. No. It's no good making excuses for me, madam. I killed my mother just as surely as if I'd held a pillow over her face. So you do see why I couldn't have said any of this in court. Oh, I know what you're thinking. But you see, my lawyer said that if I pleaded guilty to manslaughter, I'd probably be bound over.
Portico. Uncle
Alcoholics Anonymous? Is that what she said?
Apparently they have meetings once a week. I didn't know.
And I can imagine who goes to them, can't you? All the old tramps. The woman must be mad. You're not like that.
Well, she was only trying to be helpful, and there is the question of my parole.
You mean she gave you no alternative? Get yourself brainwashed by AA or stay in here another year? I think that's disgusting.
No, Grace, that's not fair. She said it was entirely voluntary.
Oh, yes, and if you don't go along with her suggestion, what's she going to put in her report?
Well, I don't know what to do. I suppose
Alcoholics Anonymous are a lot of cranks, Beryl.
No, the governor says they do a tremendous lot of good.
Once you get into their hands, you'll start thinking of yourself as some kind of freak. Do you really want to sit and listen to old Madge and all the other drunks telling the story of their lives?
Well, the governor says it's run by people from outside.
I wonder what they're like.
Grace, I don't suppose... I mean, I'd feel ever so much happier if you came along too.
Me?
Yes, well, I don't think I could face it on my own.
Now, the way I see it, it's chemical. Well, I mean, there's lots of people needs to get a drop or two inside them to get going. My sister Ethel, she was like that. When she was stone cold sober, she went herself.
Yes. You told us about your sister Ethel last week. What we'd like to hear today is what progress you're making in coming to terms with your own need for alcohol.
Well, it's a bit hard to tell, Harry, when you can't get none. They've clamped down, you see. You can't get hold of the ingredients.
I should think that's just as well. From your description, that stuff must have been absolutely lethal.
But surely, Jean, according to you, all alcohol is poison.
No, I wouldn't say that at all. For some people it is, whether it comes out of a metal polished tin or a 3-star bottle.
That's what I said. It's chemical.
When did you first realise you had a drinking problem?
I haven't got a problem.
Then why have you joined this group?
Would you believe, to vary the monotony?
But you do drink?
Doesn't everybody?
Well, Grace only came along because I was so nervous. I hope you don't mind, Harry.
Of course he doesn't. It all helps the cosy atmosphere. Harry, Jean, it's like a chat show on American TV. Be my guest and let down your hair for God.
I don't think that's very nice, Grace.
I'm sorry, but none of it sounds very sincere to me.
Oh, I know how you feel. I was hostile myself at first.
And what made you see the light?
Nearly burning my 2 kids to death.
Oh, how terrible.
My husband was transferred to a new town where we didn't know anybody. In a tower block, of course. I started having a drink or two to keep me going through the day. Vermouth and Advocaat. Things that didn't really count, I told myself. Pretty soon I had to lie down after lunch to sober up. Then I stopped having lunch. And then one day I left the chip pan on the stove and the whole kitchen went up in smoke. Fortunately, one of the neighbours was at home. Funnily enough, it was a woman I was determined not to have anything to do with. I could tell she was the nosy type. Thank God she was.
How awful, though.
Well, it made me realise what I was doing to myself. That was the first step, to face the fact that I'd become a drunk.
That's an awful way to think of yourself. I could never say I was a...
Yes, that's the trouble with us drunks. We've an exaggerated opinion of ourselves.
Oh, well, self-respect, yes, but...
No, sheer bloody-minded self-centeredness. The conviction that we're always right.
And resentment when other people don't appreciate us.
Well, yes, I'm afraid that's true.
Oh, Beryl, don't be ridiculous. You looked after that mother of yours as if you were a slave.
But there were times, you know, when I nearly hated her.
I'm sure that's not true. Oh, resentment's one thing. Well, we all feel that when we can't get our own way. But I'm sure you're exaggerating, Beryl.
No, I wished her dead.
Is that what you did? Done her in?
We're not here to discuss anyone's offences. The only thing we can talk about with any authority is what all 5 of us have in common. A strong compulsion to destroy ourselves with drink.
I've already told you that's not true.
If I may say so, you're the one who's most at risk.
Me?
You've a very assertive personality with lots of drive. I think you said you were a freelance journalist?
Yes.
That's a very demanding job. Not much opportunity to take things easy.
That's true. You see, when you're not actually working, you're hustling for the next assignment or else worrying yourself sick because you haven't got one.
I can understand that. It was when I was made redundant that I started to hit the bottle.
In my job, I was redundant about once a month, and that means starting all over again, telephoning people, being seen in the right places.
Pubs?
That's right. But it doesn't make me an alcoholic. If you're lucky, it won't.
But when you leave here, you'll come under the same kind of pressure again. Even worse, perhaps. Well, now, Beryl, your situation's quite different. You drank as a reaction to the life you were forced to lead as an unpaid nurse to an old woman who didn't appreciate your efforts. You're not going to find yourself in that same situation again.
But I was making myself useful, Harry.
Yes, no doubt.
But when I leave here, there won't be anything for me to do at all.
Would you like a biscuit?
This is Mrs. Ross, who's come to talk to you about parole. I'll be in my office when you're finished. Thank you.
You know, I feel I know quite a lot about you already.
Oh?
You were a red band in the library. I had a look round the last time I was there. I was most impressed. I said as much to the officer in charge.
Oh, thank you.
I'm on the Board of Visitors, you see, so I know Stone Park quite well.
The Board of Visitors? Don't they give out the punishments?
They do, yes. But occasionally I'm roped in to sit on the local review committee, which advises on parole.
Who else is on it?
Well, besides myself, there's one local councillor, the chairman of the bench, and 2 or 3 local worthies whose names I forget, and of course Mrs. Dodds.
Will I have to go?
No, they have all the facts before them. I've been asked, as an outsider, to have a little chat with you in case there are any particular points you want to put.
I suppose they told you what's wrong with me. I'm an alcoholic.
Oh, yes, they did say something about your going to the AA meetings, but I shouldn't let that worry you too much. I gather, do sit down, there was an incident involving some homemade booze. What happened? Did you lose remission?
No, the governor very kindly gave me another chance. She suggested I should attend these meetings.
What we as a committee had to decide is whether, if you're allowed out on parole, there's any likelihood of further offences being committed. In your case, I should think that risk was very slight.
But, Mrs. Ross, I'm not sure that I want to go.
Don't want to go?
No, not until I'm ready.
But you've already accepted the offer of parole. You can't chop and change like this, you know. It simply makes more work for everybody. Now, sit down and listen to me. So, we thought before we had our formal meeting, we might like to discuss some of the cases with you who work here and get your views at first hand. Quite informally, of course.
Please help yourself to more coffee.
Thank you. Now, let me see. Beryl Watson. Miss Clark, have any arrangements been made about her accommodation?
There's no problem. I've been to see the Church of England people at Southampton. They've got a vacancy. They were very pleased to have her.
But I thought she came from Sussex.
Oh, she did, but she no longer has any friends or relatives in that area.
Now, her medical condition.
Yes, well, that seems to be okay.
No permanent damage from her alcoholic poisoning?
Well, no. Actually, about that question of her being a drinker, I'm not convinced.
What do you mean?
Well, simply, Mrs. Dodds, it means that she doesn't present the usual clinical picture of an alcoholic.
That's why the doctor who gave evidence at the trial didn't realise what was the matter with her either.
Oh, I know she says she used to drink heavily when she was looking after Mum, but, well, that could be just
Quite apart from what she says, we have a report from Alcoholics Anonymous, and they agree she has a drinking problem.
Do they think it can be controlled?
Dr. Mays, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I don't know whether she's an alcoholic or not, but I am told that she does enjoy being a member of AA.
Human contact.
Well, that's it, exactly. Something or someone to cling to. She is a very dependent creature. Too dependent for her own good.
As a member of the local council, I would like to say I consider it an appalling waste of the ratepayers' money keeping people like that locked up.
Mrs. Dodds, Beryl Watson isn't here for being an alcoholic. She's here for manslaughter.
I think what Councillor Mrs. Dodds meant was that she shouldn't be denied parole on account of her drinking habits.
Yes, but what drinking habits? All we have to go on is what the woman says herself. And, as I tried to say earlier, that could be just an excuse. After all, it is the oldest alibi in the world. Sure, I don't recall it, Your Honour. I was a touch the worse for drink.
She probably can't face the fact that she killed her mother.
I think she's beginning to. All right. We can't be certain that she was an alcoholic before she came in here, but what we do know is that the moment any alcohol was made available, even the most nauseating kind, she jumped at it, regardless of the consequences. And I think that should make us aware of certain dangers.
So you want us to turn down her application for parole?
Well, there is an alternative. If we can find a vacancy, we could put her on the hostel scheme. What do you think, Miss Clark?
Yes. I suppose that would avoid the risk.
May I ask, the risk of what?
Well, if she is vulnerable to drink, Sending her straight out to fend for herself might be the worst thing we can do. What I'm proposing is a kind of halfway stage. She'll be transferred to an open prison where a job will be found for her in the nearest town. During her working hours, she'll be, to all intents and purposes, free. And there's no need for anyone to know where she comes from.
Then what exactly is the difference?
She'll have to report back to the prison every evening and sleep there. In my view, that should help her gradually to readjust herself.
That's great news, Beryl.
I don't even know where it is.
Somewhere in the Cotswolds. What kind of a job have they found for you?
Oh, Miss Clark said it was something responsible.
Will you drop me a line?
Oh, yes. But you'll have gone, won't you, Grace?
Oh, God, yes! Well, one day, when you're out, perhaps we could have lunch. I'm in the phone book.
Oh, yes, I'd like that. Good luck, Grace.
Good luck.
Managing all right.
Managing?
Well, the rent on the flat, you've paid it.
Well, not exactly, but it's only a couple of months.
Roddy.
Well, it's all right. I went to see the landlady, chatted her up a bit.
I bet.
She thinks you've been in California.
Oh, does she?
I explained you were coming back in a week's time to start work on a regular column on one of the posh Sundays.
Oh, if only it were true. Well, go on, tell me. Have you made any progress?
Sounding out your contacts.
Yes, all those people who promised they'd help.
Well, frankly, darling, things are a bit difficult in journalism just now.
They always were.
It'll be different when they actually see you. We ought to have a party. Invite them all round on the 13th.
15th.
Oh, is it? I'm glad you told me.
Matt fell flat on her face.
Well, tell me, how are things going with you?
Well, unfortunately, the disco thing didn't work out at all. But obviously it was fate, because a couple of days after I was supposed to start work there, I met this chap who runs safari tours. And he wants somebody to look after the London end. Well, it should be fascinating. There might even be a chance of going into partnership.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you, Marion. At least we won't have to worry about where we put Grace Baxter after she leaves.
Oh, by the way, I had a postcard from Beryl Watson.
Oh, how's she getting on?
She's checking labels in a supermarket in Evesham. Look, isn't it pretty?
Well, perhaps it wasn't such a bad idea after all. I thought the governor was being a bit hard on her.
Well, we're all to blame. I'm only thankful we didn't recommend her for parole.
I can hardly believe it. I never thought she'd let us down.
Unfortunately, any loyalty she may have felt for us was outweighed by her need for drink.
All right, so she has a drink problem.
I had a postcard from her yesterday. She seemed so settled. Do you know how it happened?
Well, I haven't seen her yet. She's only just arrived. But the escorting officer reports that she was picked up by the police in a village 20 miles from the open prison.
But how on earth did she get there?
Well, a coach, apparently, with some of the girls she was working with.
Work sighting?
Asking for trouble.
Well, you know as well as I do, Miss Clark, it's the rule. When a prisoner is on licence, no restriction shall be placed upon her during her working hours. I think it's a good rule. It gives the woman the opportunity to prove that she is fit for normal life outside. In this case, she wasn't. Now, my tailgate. How's she getting on?
Well, for the first few days, I thought everything was going to be all right. The supervisor was very kind. She was the only one who knew where I came from.
Are you sure of that?
Well, if the other girls suspected anything, they were kind enough not to say. We got on quite well, really.
And then I suppose someone offered you a drink.
Well, no. It didn't happen like that at all. I was very careful, Jean, not to put myself in temptation's way. Every evening when we finished work at 5:30, I used to go for a long walk. It's very picturesque there. Or else I'd take the bus back and ask the officers to let me in. They used to make quite a joke about it.
How did you come unstuck?
I suppose you think I walked into a pub and ordered myself a whiskey. No, strangely enough, I didn't feel the need of it at all.
I would, I can tell you.
I think it was because for the first time in my life I wasn't nervous. Well, that was funny, really, because the supermarket was a completely different world. But it was so easy. Nobody shouting at you, giving you orders.
Do they shout at you in here?
Oh, no, I didn't mean here. I meant...
Don't keep us in suspense, Beryl.
Well, the girls at the supermarket have a sort of annual jamboree, you know, a coach trip round the villages. I didn't want to go at first, and then I thought, well, I might as well. I didn't want to hurt their feelings.
And it turned into a pub crawl.
But I was prepared for that. I stuck to orange juice.
For the first 3 pubs.
Well, there was this one that looked so charming from the outside, all oak beams and standing by the village pond, but, well, inside it was... Well, it was like a hell. It really was. The music was playing so loud. And all the girls were singing. They were a bit merry by this time, you know, arms around each other's necks, and everybody was looking at them. And I suddenly thought, I don't belong with you. I don't belong here. And then somebody must have got the order muddled up, because I suddenly found a glass pressed into my hand, and I wanted it. I really did.
Oh, God, Beryl, you sound like a Victorian tramp.
Well, what I didn't want was to spend the rest of my life like them, sticking labels onto pots of jam. I thought, no, I thought if this is all life's got to offer, I'd rather be dead.
Or dead drunk.
I don't think you should make a joke of it, poor girl.
I wasn't trying to be funny. When you find things too much for you, being dead and being drunk have similar attractions, don't you think?
When I was a little girl, I used to dream up ways of committing suicide.
It's to punish your parents for not letting you do what you wanted.
Everybody does that.
Not everybody.
I did. I used to dream about hanging myself or taking poison and leaving a note to explain.
And then you decided to destroy yourself in a different way. Not so quick, but just as deadly.
Well, why shouldn't people kill themselves? You know, this is what I don't like about your organisation. You're always making moral judgments.
No, Grace, you're wrong.
But you do. You may not talk about God a lot, but he's always there, like some huge, invisible kind of policeman. Oh, come on, be honest. That's what AA's all about.
God, as we understand him, is the way we put it.
Why? Why drag him in at all?
Well, to stop drinking is very difficult. Probably too much for one person to achieve. It helps to feel that there's some power stronger than ourselves fighting on our side.
Does God embarrass you?
I'm all for standing on one's own feet, personally.
Then do that.
Yes, Grace, you've got to really want to give it up.
I never started. I've already told you the only reason I agreed to come along here was because of her. But the more of these sessions we have, the less I feel like being put in the same category. I am not a drunk.
Grace, you must be honest with yourself.
For heaven's sake.
It's easy enough to say you're not a drunk when you're in here and there's no drink about.
But that's where you're wrong, Harry.
You can get metal polish and stuff like that.
No, I didn't mean the metal polish, Madge. I meant the vodka that Grace used to get sent in.
Thank you very much.
Don't worry. We won't say anything.
She used to sit up and beg for it. She couldn't do without it.
Could you?
Look, I realise you have a vested interest in pretending that everyone's a potential alcoholic. It makes you feel more normal. What you won't admit is that some people can take a drink or two without turning into a raving lush. Now, if you'll excuse me, I don't think I'm getting very much out of this.
Grace,
Yes?
when are you leaving?
Tomorrow?
If you like, I'll give you a ring at home.
I shouldn't bother.
Good night.
I think we'd better pack it in now. I'll see you next week.
Beryl, what's the matter?
Oh, you're so kind.
That's nothing to cry about, is it?
Well, yes, it is. If no one's ever been kind to you before.
I'm sure that's not true. The girls in that place where you were working, you must have got on quite well.
Well, I didn't fit in with them. I've never fitted in anywhere. I've always been very shy, you see.
Lots of people think they're shy, Beryl, when that isn't what's the matter with them at all.
Well, then what is wrong with me? Oh, you're so sensible, Harry.
You won't try to make contact with people because they don't measure up to your standards. You don't think they're worth the effort.
No, I don't think that's true.
It's true, Beryl. Think about it. You resented your mother because she was helpless and incontinent. You never mixed with the other prisoners in here because you reckoned you were a cut above them.
But there was Grace. She was friends with Grace.
Yes, because she was in a position to provide the booze. You needed that as a safety valve. Otherwise, you'd have exploded with resentment and frustration and self-pity. You can't fool me. I've been through all that, too.
I think you must be the most understanding person in the world. And you too, Jean. Oh, what am I going to do without you?
When the time comes, there'll be others. Wherever you decide to live, we'll see to it that you have friends to help you.
Oh, but I want you to help me, both of you. Nobody else. Roddy.
Grace.
Roddy.
How wonderful.
Oh, it's wonderful for me too. Oh,
Darling, it's great to see you.
I haven't had any breakfast. Is there any coffee?
Oh, damn, I meant to do some shopping.
Oh, never mind. Let's go out somewhere and have bacon and eggs. It's traditional on the morning of release. Roddy, what's the matter?
Look, Grace, I should have written.
See, the suitcase. You're off.
Yeah, well, it's only for a week or two.
A safari tour.
Oh, no, that fellow turned out to be a real crook. The whole thing was practically bankrupt. No, I've been offered a job in Saint-Tropez, learning how to be a croupier. Well, that's the chance I've been waiting for. Darling, you do understand.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you'll be all right.
Sure. I suppose you haven't hocked my typewriter.
Don't be funny.
I wasn't being funny.
I don't suppose I shall enjoy it much. I didn't think much of that last one you chose for me.
Yes, well, try not to
I
spill
think
tea
you'll
on
like
it this
that.
time.
It's very romantic. Come on, Ruby, get a move on. Line up outside. Come on, the rest of you. We're about to close. Come on, Beryl. It's time for your meeting.
Oh, we fixed it up in the cleaning stores, you see.
Isn't Harry here?
Oh, don't worry, Beryl. He hasn't deserted you. He's gone to make a phone call. He won't be long. Shall we begin?
That's my chair, Madge, if you don't mind.
I said I'd phone her.